Welcome to How to Be Alpha, a show exploring the essentials of having a personal brand and how to generate revenue using your own face and stories. I'm your host, Elizabeth Halford, and I've been curating my personal brand since 2008, when a career as a pro blogger landed in my lap. I became a well-known brand, generating a full-time income before that was really even a thing. I took a break, and now I'm back, bringing you all the juicy gossip to be alpha in your business. And by that, I mean being the best you can be, because your only competition is you, which is great news because it means everyone can be alpha. A few notes before we get started. Don't drive and take notes. Every episode has its own page at youisalpha.com/podcast. Also, please leave me a review on iTunes. You're a small business. I'm a small business. You know the drill. I might even read it out on air. Thanks for joining me. Let's jump right in. Hey, I'm not sure I could have picked a more nuanced, complicated topic than what I'm going to talk about today. And it was a hard one even to name. There are a lot of things I could have called this episode. How to say no in a way that feels like a yes. How to say no and still feel like a powerful person. It's complicated and there's a lot to it. I'm going to, as always, make the complicated simple and tie this up in a neat little package within the next few minutes for you. More than ever, the meaning of the word no has never been so under question, under scrutiny, and maybe even under attack than it is now. The word no is all wrapped up in topics of consent and identity and how do we view others through this lens. So first and foremost, my message here is for men and women alike, and that is that no is a complete sentence. There is no requirement to sugarcoat or soften the blow of your no, especially when we're talking about your body, your sexuality, your safety, your emotions, or literally anything else you want to say no to. When my kids were little, people would try and pressure them into hugging so-and-so, or people would tickle them and my kids would try to say no. And like so often with children and consent, it would fall on deaf ears. And I always supported them and amplified their tiny voices when they said no. So in light of everything I'm about to say now, you might have some people in your life who don't have access to this way of thinking, who don't know how to deliver their no in a more powerful way. So if you witness people in your life attempting to stand up for themselves, attempting to use the word no, and not being heard, then be an ally and amplify their voice and help to deliver that no in a way which is heard and most importantly acted upon. When I was a kid, my parents would use the phrase, "feel free," as a way to say no. And my siblings and I, we still use this phrase with each other sometimes just to get under each other's skin. It was a no which came with an added stipulation that we were able to control to turn that no into a yes. And sometimes it would go a bit like this. If you remember TGIF in the 90s, it was Boy Meets World and Full House and all those shows that we were so excited about watching on a Friday, but I was not allowed to watch it until I cleaned my room. And sometimes it was about to be 8 o'clock at night and my room wasn't cleaned. So my parents would say, "Feel free to stay up late after you've cleaned your room." Now, you're going to come off as condescending if you take this exact approach with the other adults in your life. It can still work very well with your children, and it's one of those things in which I know for a fact I have become my parents because I love it. Yes, feel free to go out with your friends after you've done your homework. Feel free to stay up late after you've cleaned your room. It's magic. It really is. It makes your children feel that they have some sort of power over what happens to them. And I have also found ways to amend this concept to work in my business life, and it got me thinking, how can I feel more powerful when I'm saying no? How can I avoid rebuttal or pushback from clients when the answer is no, but the account manager in me wants to keep them happy? I believe in positivity. I try to flip every negative thing on its head. Instead of saying stop running, I might say please walk. Instead of saying don't forget, I'll say please remember. I like to try and direct people to the things I would like to see them do rather than the things I would like to see them stop doing. And this is also a great tactic to use with small children. When you say, stop running, they literally don't know what they're supposed to replace that with. So tell them to please walk. Instead of stop picking your nose, please put your hand in your lap. And especially when you're dealing with clients, there's really nothing that you can't say yes to. And that's not to say that the yes doesn't come with caveats that might make it prohibitive and actually not work out in the end. But still, you can say yes, even when what you're really saying is no. And that sounds confusing, right? Don't be confused. I'm going to explain this with a couple of stories. This story is from my video production days. I was producing a broadcast TV commercial which featured a notable city landmark. The landmark was about to be repainted, but the ad was time sensitive. So the client said, "Can you use your video Photoshop thingy to change the color of the tower?" Now, this project already had a really restricted budget. And for a project with such a restricted budget, my first instinct was to say, no, that doesn't fit within your budget. But instead I said, yes, we can totally do that. It'll cost you $60,000. The cost of that one change would have doubled the entire budget. So the client chose not to do it, but it's not because I told them no. I did that same thing my parents did when I was little. Feel free to have that expensive change to your commercial after you give me $60,000. Hold that thought. I just need to introduce you to my sponsor. She's gorgeous and she's smart and she's alpha and she's me. Until I have a fancy sponsor giving me money to talk about their stuff. Hello, Squarespace. This podcast is sponsored by me and my business called You Is Alpha. Listen, when I was a new blogger and content creator, Instagram wasn't a thing. I survived for 5 years on one set of images. It's not like that anymore. If you use Instagram, email marketing, or blogging, your audience expects to be served timely, new, and stimulating visual content and the stories you write to go with them. You Is Alpha is a photography brand serving influencers, online entrepreneurs, and personal brands with batch-created photographic content to generate revenue by staying at the forefront of your audience's mind. And because we only shoot once per quarter, you walk away with 3 months worth of content to post and use regularly. Schedule that stuff out and get back to running the rest of your business. You can find me at youisalpha.com. In Tina Fey's book, Bossy Pants, she talks about the rules of improv comedy. And I refer to this so often in my life. My favorite rule is to never block your partner. Always say yes, and if they point their fingers at you and say, "I'm holding a gun," rather than saying, "That's not a gun," you should go along with it and add to the gag and move it forward. This is an ethos I always encourage when leading teams in brainstorming and ideation. We never say an idea is poor. We only add to it with a yes and attitude, even if it's yes. And we also think this other idea could work. See? A no that feels like a yes. So while a no feels like a very blocking response, it can actually help to move an issue forward. Your clients and colleagues should feel well supported with your positive, can-do attitude. It's our job as a leader to see things differently. No is an absolute roadblock to innovation and creativity, and it doesn't show how capable you are to get around roadblocks and keep a cause moving forward, which is precisely the kind of mindset that you need to succeed. Sometimes saying no can be as simple as saying no, but in a well-formulated and thought-out way. I was once recently pitching for a marketing project, and the client was attempting to customize the project to the point where it became unrecognizable from the proposal I had delivered. He really Frankensteined the heck out of this project. And I told him this. I said, "I can see how important saving a couple weeks and a few $1,000s in budget is important to you. And I can easily take your money for the next few weeks, but at the end you won't have results and I will have damaged my reputation. I wish you all the best." People just want to be heard. They want to be acknowledged and validated. So before I say no, sometimes I say, "Yes, I see you. I see what's important to you, and I'm not the right person for this project." I'd like to think this is saying no without burning bridges. In relationships, this can be a lot more tricky. I once had a financial agreement with a family member. It was very difficult when they decided that the agreement no longer worked for them, and their demands were something I was not able to deliver. I agonized for weeks over how I was going to respond to this. I felt indignant. I felt angry. I felt that I could have easily just said no. And I would have been totally within my rights to do this because remember, no is a complete sentence. But I felt this person's understanding of the situation would have been better if I had found a way to deliver that no in a more meaningful, thought out way. So I came up with this sentence. I've thought about your request and I've decided I'm going to stick with our original agreement. So my no was actually a yes. Yes. I will continue to hold up my end of this financial agreement. Here's another example. Someone asks you for a favor. You can't do it, but you can do a variation of what they requested, maybe at a different time. So instead of saying, no, I can't help you move today, you could say, yes, I could do it tomorrow. This is a no, which comes with the yes. So if it doesn't work out, it's not because you said no. It's because your yes didn't work for the other party. I guess what I'm really saying here is that I know that saying no can be a powerful choice, which can still feel powerless. Sometimes saying no invites a tricky debate or a rebuttal, and it's really natural to ask why when someone tells us no. But when they deliver that no in one well thought out package, which makes the stipulations of the agreement clear, respects the other party's request, and honors the relationship, there can be very little comeback from the other party. This can mean the difference between reacting and responding, and you can rest knowing you delivered a response and not a reaction in a powerful and positive way. So look at that. I wrapped up a complicated issue in hopefully a simplified way. Next week, I'm still going to be talking about ways to be a more powerful person. And this time, it's going to be 3 very simple shifts that you can employ in the things that you say in your everyday life to deliver yourself in a more powerful and positive way. These are 3 things that you probably say on an hourly basis. And I'm not going to tell you to stop saying them. I'm going to tell you what to start saying instead. So look forward to that. I hope to see you then. Thank you so much for listening. You are such a babe. A reminder that all notes are available at youisalpha.com/podcast. You can find me on Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn as youisalpha, and on Instagram, I'm youalphababe. Now go leave me that review, and remember, you is kind, you is smart, you is alpha.